Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're well, thank you for joining me. You know, when there was a switch in governments from one side to the other, Labour to Conservative, Conservative to Labour, it's interesting the reactions of different people, different walks of life, people in business, people in work, unemployed, sick, they all reacted rather differently, didn't they? And anybody that was unemployed or long-term sick or living on their own and you know, difficult circumstances, always used to shake in their boots when the Tories got in and breathed a sigh of relief when Labour got in. I've seen it, and you know, I've experienced it myself. Well, now the status quo seems to have shifted, hasn't it? We've got a lot of talk about what's going on with the pensioners, where the winter fuel payment has been effectively taken from them, turned into a means-tested thing. There's talk about the single person's 25% council tax discount going, the bus passes and other bits and pieces. Well, some of this doesn't only affect the pensioners, you know. It affects single people living on their own as well, of a younger generation, unemployed or worked for an amount of time and ended up on the scrap heap, some through no fault of their own. I want to tell you two specific stories. There was this guy about 25 years ago who had a decent job, and he had a partner, and they lived in a flat and on quite a good income between them for the time, 25 years ago, about £30,000 a year, so you could have a relatively good life on that. All of a sudden, one day, this guy had his partner turn round to him and say, "That's it, it's over," and off she went. And when this guy sat down and worked out his finances, he had about £10 a month left over out of his wages, and that's before he even thought about food shopping. So, in short, he was ruined. What to do? Well, I'm better off on the jam roll. So that's exactly what happened. And of course, when you have a situation where you haven't got to get out of bed for anything in the morning, the walls start to close in, don't they? It affects your mental health, and sooner or later you end up in a world of trouble. And you have to hold on to that little bit of hope, that little bit of light, which will guide you back to safety. And of course, this guy who I speak about, he did find safety in the end. He found his way through to becoming a taxi driver, running an airport business, and eventually a YouTube channel, and he's quite happily married, wife and 2 kids. Yeah, that man I just told you about was me, and none of the circumstances I found myself in really would have been solved by some of the stuff that I'm reading in the press today, and we'll come to that in a minute. The second story I want to tell you is about somebody that I've known for about 30 years. Yeah, I can't believe it's that long. Well, coming 30 years. Who once upon a time lived in London and worked harder, and I mean harder than anybody I know. Was always out, knocking doors, working in factories, you name it, he did it, anything to earn a crust. And of course, eventually, when you get older, particularly with manual labour jobs of any kind, health catches up with you. And, you know, he had several hammer blows, including the loss of his parents, which quite frankly, and he won't mind me saying, he never recovered from. And as a result, he is not in the best of health mentally, and not in the best of health physically, and certainly wouldn't be able to carry out a day's work. It's a great shame. It's a great shame, but there's many people like him. So those are two extreme examples of what can lead to unemployment. Well, the current fix for all this seems to be Wes Streeting's idea. Have a look at this. Yes, you're a fat bastard. We're going to stick something in you and get you back on the work line. I wonder what the consequences would be of this tax-funded monstrosity if they turn around and said, well, actually, no, we're not doing that. I'm about, I'd say, 3.5 stone overweight, and I freely admit it. Doing something about it, that's a story for another time. My friend, not so lucky. All we can do is look out for him and support him, and there are others like it. And I'm afraid there is no miracle cure for this. Like it or not, you're going to get lumbered with a benefit bill. The pensioners are going to need their pensions, and no amount of sticking, threatening, or anything else is going to change that. We are a product of the country we live in. You know, we have one of the lowest pensions in the whole of Europe. I mean, who can live off of 13,000 quid? Nobody. 30 years ago, maybe. Mind you, that's what I was left with in a year when my missus left me. And I had £10 a month to my name. You couldn't live on it back then. And we talk about national insurance hikes. They're coming. You wonder how far this Westminster bubble goes, don't you? You wonder, have they really got the slightest idea what they're doing, the slightest idea what they're saying? And these people run this country. I mean, you look at these posts that are out online, these millions of pounds worth of investments, apparently. Mind you, the ex-head of Google was quite surprised at that. And in the next breath, they're going to nick it all off them in taxes, national insurance, and God knows what else. It's a double-edged sword, all this Labour nonsense, isn't it? It really is. And yet we have the likes of me 25 years ago, my friend now, and many others who are still in the same situation they are. It's disgusting. If you know somebody that's vulnerable, get on the phone and have a chat, check they're okay. Is there something I can do for you? It'd mean the world to them. Meanwhile, we carry on. Anyway, let me know what you think. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We're getting near, I think, 106,000 subscribers. Appreciate all your support and the channel members. Share me on your social media. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Toodaloo.